Welcome to this week's episode of In-Depth Outdoors. Each week, the In-Depth Outdoors staff will take you to North America's top fishing destinations, where we'll fish longer, go further off the beaten path, uncover untapped fisheries in your backyard, and cover more water in search of the biggest fish and the hottest bites. We'll share time-proven tips, introduce new lures, and cutting-edge fish catching techniques. We'll shine a spotlight on overlooked bodies of water and open eyes to underutilized species that feed aggressively and fight hard from hook set to landing net. All this with one goal in mind: to help you catch more fish and have more fun doing it. This is In-Depth Outdoors, brought to you by Lake Master, leading in accuracy, following with success. Thorne Brothers, where real muskie hunters shop. Skeeter Boats. Skeeter gives the hardcore fisherman a boat to match. B-Fish and Tackle. Premium quality jigs and soft plastics designed to help you catch more fish. Skeeter Boat Center, your full-service Skeeter Boats dealer. Come take a test drive today.
On today's episode of In-Depth Outdoors, we're in Minnewaca, North Dakota, where we'll be fishing Devil's Lake. But before we get to the walleye fishing, what I want to talk about is what makes this lake so special. And one of the unique characteristics is over the last 2 decades, the water has started to rise and just hasn't stopped. In fact, where I'm standing right now, this used to be Main Street through Minnewacan. As you can see over my left shoulder here, the highway that used to run through the town has been completely closed by the rising water levels. We'll be fishing with Jason Feldner later on today, and what he told me as we were prepping for this trip, that 25 years ago, the lakeshore level that we see right off the edge of this highway was 8.5 miles that way. So that should give you a sense of how much shallow water habitat is available here on Devil's Lake. I love, like no other, to fish shallow water walleyes. It allows me to be aggressive, and I tend to catch a lot larger fish in waters less than 10 feet. So that's what we'll be doing today. We'll be fishing with Jason Feldner of Perch Eyes Guide Service, and we're going to be after walleyes in real shallow water on Devil's Lake.
The downfall to all this water is it is eating up a lot of farmers' land. I mean, this year, with influx of water, it was 10,000 acres they figured. Most of that is farmland around the shores of Devil's Lake. The only upside to it is we have a heck of a hatch for all species. Creates a lot more fishing areas. I mean, the fishing's great. Fresh water in the system is awesome, but the downfall is it does mess with a lot of livelihood, with farmers and everything. So, but that's why you don't see many houses around the shorelines here. You have to be at a certain elevation, like 1460, to build. Okay. So it's hard to get close enough to the water because they don't know what the water is going to do. So that's why there's not a lot of resorts and there's not a lot of houses along the lake shores.
Well, I guess I wouldn't want to build there anyway.
Exactly.
I mean, lesson learned. When you see all these homesteads and all the farm equipment and grain bins in the water, I mean,
it's reality.
Learn your lesson and move on.
That's a fact. We're going to get back into a flooded bay. Typically, the water temperature when the sun comes out is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees warmer. And there in the spring, that's a huge difference. Those fish will go up in that shallow, warm bays, speed up their metabolism, gain that weight back after the spawn. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to get up here, get off this main shoreline, sneak back in this bay here and see what we can find out. This is a prime example of water temperature. We got back here in this little nook here. This wind's been blowing in, up into these cattails, pushing that warm water out of the cattails. 63 degrees, warmest weather all day. He lost a darn nice fish up there, caught one in here. I got bit off once, had a couple other bites, but you just hit these little pockets of warmer water and it's game on.
There we go.
Nice fish. That one came up shallow.
We almost had a double there. That's at Moxie. Nice fish. All right. Come here, sweetheart. I think he's going to be a little on that long end for what you want to keep. There we go. Everybody thinks that plastics are, moving water, river environment baits. But here on Devil's Lake, where you've got such a strong shallow water bite, a plastic like this 4-inch Moxie is really the perfect bait for this type of presentation. These fish are up shallow, they're very aggressive. They're not keying on a type of minnow. Anything that moves, that has the right silhouette, perhaps the right color, they're gonna hit it. So that plastic allows us to be so efficient. We're not worried about losing minnows that fall off during our cast. If we get a hit and we don't hook up that fish, we know we can just drop that bait right back to them and catch them that second time around. There's a lot of advantages, woo, to fishing plastics.
There's a fish, nice one, I think.
The walleye kind?
Nope. It's one of those white bass on steroids. Oh, maybe it is. No, it's a nice walleye.
Is it?
Nice fish.
Double.
Double? He's got one on behind the boat.
Yep.
Good deal. Oh, nice fish. Oh, I can't
That is
quit
a nice
trying
fish.
to pull these things up like that. You know what my favorite color is?
White.
There you go. Nice colors. Cool water, fight real nice. Thank you for biting, fish. I thank every fish for biting. Might be my last one, you never know.
Well, you know, we've kind of figured out where these fish are holding. They're not right outside that visible weed edge. They're on a secondary break in about 6 foot of water. So we're throwing up to that weed edge, and of course we're catching white bass just about every other cast up in that real shallow water. Once we get it out past those white bass, we bring it up in here, we run into these real nice walleyes. You know, that is a fantastic Devil's Lake walleye. Thank you, I needed you to roll over there. And that's coming on that white plastic, that Moxie. It's a bee fish and tackle product. And you know, Devil's Lake really is known for a really great crankbait casting bite this time of year, but because we had such an incredible cold front yesterday, these fish are a little lethargic. So to compensate for that, we're fishing a 4-inch Moxie from Bee Fish and Tackle in white. And I gotta tell you, when you ask Jason about colors for Devil's Lake, if he mentions 4 colors, 3 of them are gonna be white. So if you end up coming out here, make sure you grab a bunch of that color. But that is just a super fish. And I know how you feel about this. That's just way too big to eat, but I sure do appreciate the spunk. Back you go. All right. You know, if we're on the backside of this cold front by a couple of days, we go back to throwing crankbaits, but literally yesterday, 55-mile-an-hour winds, very low humidity, pretty sharp temperature drop. It didn't change the water temperature a lot. What'd you say, about 2 or 3 degrees total?
Yeah, 2 to 5.
So it wasn't a huge shock, but we did have to adjust our presentations a little bit. I've tried 3 or 4 different crankbaits today. I've caught a few white bass, but nothing else. So it's a plastics presentation today. Holy smokes. And everything's feeding on these shrimp in here, aren't they?
Yes, and the wind, you know, they just kind of float through the whole water column. So whenever you get the wind, of course, they're gonna wash up to the windy shorelines and these fish, and then typically what they'll do is grab onto the first thing they come up to, you know. In Devil's Lake, we got a lot of weeds along the shorelines, a lot of branches and stuff, and that's what those fish are feeding on.
When I've seen some of the underwater footage of these concentrations of shrimp, it reminds me of like a biblical plague. There's just so much food for these fish in one small area, and that's why when somebody will talk about catching 20-inch fish on Devil's Lake, and they talk about a 3 1/4 or a 3.5 pound walleye, which is a really heavy 20-inch fish, they're not kidding. That's what that fish will actually weigh. And you know, you'll catch a 27-inch fish out here that'll go 9 pounds because they have so much food. Fish on. That's the right kind, isn't it?
Oh, I think this is the species we want.
Let me know if you need a net.
Yep.
There you go. That's another one for the dinner table, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's an eater there.
Awesome.
He just perfect, right in the top of the mouth like that. Gosh, that's about borderline what I like to keep right there. Again, that same Moxie, correct?
Yep, that's the Moxie.
I mean, just aggressive. It's a nice thing, shallow fish equal aggressive. I mean, they're up here for one reason, and that's to eat. Good deal. I'm gonna throw him in the box. I'm gonna face down like walleye.
How many we got in there now?
Just 3.
3.
Back.
Got it. There, nice walleye. They're so shallow up here, I can see it right after the hook set.
Awesome.
I bet it's almost the same fish.
I bet you pitch right back in that same spot.
Exact same spot. Oh yeah, he's a nice walleye. Sweet. go. Come here, buddy. All right. You know, we're done keeping fish now, so. Oh, you get a pike?
Oh, I just got bit off.
Right there within sight of the major highway. That was a big old 18-wheeler just went by. Just one more fantastic example of Devil's Lake productivity. How many fish you figure we've caught now in a half a day?
I don't even know for sure.
We got 7 in the box. I bet you we've released more than that were, you know, significantly too big.
Definitely.
It's been a great day.
Awesome.
You know what I did is when the conditions got calm like this, earlier we were fishing pretty heavy heads and doing pretty well snap jigging, really swimming the baits back to the boat. And once it got calm like this, I switched to a lighter head and went with mono. And you wouldn't disagree, it seems to be making a difference.
Definitely. That
thin diameter fire line we were fishing before, that jig's falling too fast. Mono, you know, there's so many situations where, you know, coming from that river environment, this is all we fish because we've learned to slow the fall of that jig using that larger diameter mono. You're gonna want 1 rod of each. I'll tell you this, day in and day out, I'm gonna throw a lot more fire line here because of the snags, because of that heavy structure. But when the bite gets tough like this, having that mono rod in the boat is gonna make all the difference. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Out of there, baby. There we go. And there's a jig in there somewhere, but it's just gone. There we go. What a nice fish.
See how that one hasn't quite got all its weight back? I figure that's probably a little bit later spawner.
Sure. Well, you can definitely see it in their frame. I mean, nice long fish, but just hasn't quite put the feed bag on. Of course, that sweet little treat she's got in her mouth right now is a bit of a disappointment for that fish. Probably not what she had in mind. You know, with the water temperatures the way they are, you can catch and release these fish all day long with absolutely no problems at all. See you later, sweetheart. Happy fish. Happy fisherman.
There you go.
Devil's Lake is one of those bodies of water that just has a fantastic early water bite in shallow water. And typically there's 2 patterns being used, a crankbait casting pattern and a plastics casting pattern. And we're catching most of our fish today on plastics. We had that cold front go through yesterday, it dropped our water temps, and we've had to adjust accordingly. The fish just aren't willing to chase those crankbaits. So what we've found is this new plastic from Bee Fish and Tackle, it's called a Moxie, a 4-inch Moxie. This is the chartreuse pepper color. The second one is that pearl white that we've caught so many of our fish on today. And one of the unique characteristics of this bait is that that incredible tail that just gives a lot of vibration and movement at very slow speeds, and that's the key. They're not willing to chase those crankbaits. They see this plastic come by with that great tail, giving a lot of action at slow speeds that trigger those bites. And that's that Moxie from Bee Fish and Tackle. It's a new bait this year. We've had a lot of success with it on a lot of bodies of water. You know, just because you don't have wind doesn't mean these Devil's Lake fish won't bite. This one's still got some gumption. Woo!
A little calmer water like that, they come up to the surface, they tend to fight a little better.
You bet. Well, we just had to alter the presentation just a little bit again. Slightly heavier heads and fishing it out in a deeper water. I mean, primarily before we were catching our fish in less than 6 feet of water. Boat's out here in 10 now, and we're working it almost back to the boat. Pretty common sense approach to staying on fish all day long. I mean, nothing, no rocket science here. Hey, buddy. There we go. That would be a Devil's Lake eater if we hadn't called it that 7 fish today. All right, we'll let him go.
Right? I was doing the same thing you did on that last one, I was just dragging it on that secondary shoreline right at the outside edge of this cabbage.
Oh, that's a nice fish, bud.
Yeah, not too bad. Well, been quite ready there. Nice fish though.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Nice fish. On that paddle tail again. Nothing wrong with that. Nice Devil's Lake walleye.
They're filling out nice, aren't they?
Yep, they sure are. All right, I'm gonna get him back in the water so she can swim away and enjoy the rest of her day. Thank you, ma'am. There she goes. Nice and easy.
You've been fishing out of tillers for the most part for, what, 5, 6 years?
Actually, since '97, yes.
Really? Well, I'm starting to see so many more of them on the water, the high horsepower tillers.
With all the new hydraulic engine steer systems out there, you're allowed to go with that higher horsepower. These companies are rating these boats for 150s, 175s, some cases up to 225. So it's just, when you got that big load, you got the power to get the boat up on plane and go. You know, that's the key thing with these 20-foot boats.
Yeah, this boat has the Titan engine steer system on them, and what it does is you can only move the motor when you apply pressure to the handle. Literally, if you try to push on the motor, like say from the back of the hood, it won't move. So the only time it will move or apply any pressure to the handle is when you want to turn it left or right. When you let go of it, it just locks the motor down in place. And that's what kind of fatigues people from running these big tillers, is that constant pull as you go across the lake. Here with these new engine systems, might as well be driving with a steering wheel. There's really no feedback anymore. Snapped it.
Fish?
Sure did.
See, I was going for that log right there, and I got snagged, and you pulled the fish out of
You
it.
see that little flip, that dingle dangle
That
dance?
was the bass coming out of you. Oh, good, you can have that one. I think it's one of those.
One of those funny shaped ones?
No, nice walleye. You know what?
What?
I take everything back I said about you. It's a nice fish.
Yes, it is.
Right in the road ditch.
Right in the road ditch. Dropped it to the bottom, flipped it up. There we go. Look at that fish. Just a great Devil's Lake fish. You know, this fish just spawned. Look at the belly on these things. You know, that's all that food we were talking about. We're halfway into the day, and I'm telling you, I'm not going home until there's a 26 or 27-inch walleye in this boat, because I know it's just going to be a tank.
Oh yeah, they're here. We just haven't connected with one quite yet.
What a fatty. All right, let that one go. You had the final say. For any angler coming to Devil's Lake for the first time, whether you're an experienced angler like Jason Feldner or somebody like me that's only been here just a few times, one of the keys to not only finding the fish and navigating safely is a great navigation chip. And we're using that Lake Master 1-foot contour map on this body of water. And I can tell you this, every place we've gone, even an experienced guy like Jason Feldner has been watching that GPS unit to make sure we're taking a safe track. As this body of water has grown, it's flooded not only farm fields and forests, but covered over train tracks, road grades, and bridges. So there's objects out here you want to pay very close attention to avoid, and many of those are shown here on that Lake Master 1-foot contour map. But there's another feature that really sets that Lake Master product apart, and that's the ability to adjust the map data. It's got a water level offset feature. And what that allows you to do is correct the map data for any increase or decrease in water level since that map was actually surveyed. If the lake was surveyed 3 years ago and the water level's gone up 2 feet a year, we're off by 6 feet. You use that water level offset feature, increase the water lake level by 6 feet, and the map data is automatically adjusted in that unit and displays correctly. That means the information that you're seeing is accurate, and on a body of water like this, that's incredibly important. But when you get the data for this lake on that Dakota's mapping chip from Lake Master, you also get information for 250 other lakes and rivers throughout the Dakotas. So no matter where you travel in North Dakota and South Dakota, you'll always have the most accurate information for your Humminbird GPS. Fish.
What do you got there?
I don't know, I'm strong-arming him here a little bit with all this timber around here. It's a nice walleye.
Is it?
Not a monster, but woo! You can really hear that wind now. Walleyes and wind go together like this.
It's amazing what an hour does to this weather, ain't it?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what we're getting those fish on. Earlier we were fishing just all white, and I went to a more aggressive color, a real bright chartreuse pepper moxie, thinking that with all this wave action we're going to have less light penetration, you know, something that these fish would be a little bit more likely to run across or see at a distance with less light to work with. And again, just a nice fat Devil's Lake walleye. I don't know how many we've caught today. I mean, it's dozens now. And just real simple patterns, pitching jigs. I think you're kind of throwing a crankbait now, just kind of seeing if that'll produce fish too.
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's a little bit easier in this wind.
Sure. If they're gonna hit jigs, I'm gonna keep fishing jigs.
No, I don't blame you. I gotta run the trolling motor.
And that I do appreciate.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, she's kicking up now. I don't know how much longer we're gonna stay out here. You know, the fishing has just been fantastic today, and I've got to tell you, Jason, I really appreciate it when a guy offers to run the boat on a day like today.
Oh, no problem. I feel out of my element if I wasn't.
If you'd hand me that net, I'd appreciate it. I think we're going to end it right here, my friend.
Okay.
Unless you want to get blown around a little more.
Oh, I'm ready to go and relax for the afternoon.
This is a nice fish. Got him on that chartreuse pepper moxie. Come here, buddy.
Nice fish.
Come here. Get him in the boat. Well, there it is. It's a great end to a fantastic day here on Devil's Lake, and this is the first time I've had a chance to fish this lake in the summer, and Jason's done just a fantastic job of not only explaining some of the history of the lake as it's grown, but also putting us on some fantastic fish. So everyone at home, if you're thinking about coming out to Devil's Lake to take part in some of this fantastic fishing, give Jason a call. Perch Eyes Guide Service, and we're going to run a little bit extra information for you here about Perch Eyes at the end of the show, so grab that paper and pencil. From Jason and I, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Hey folks, we just dropped James off at the dock here. I just want to show you, we got some dandy nice ear walleyes here. You know, a lot of these 17 to 19 and a half inch walleyes. You know, we kept 7 fish today. Could have kept our 10, you know, probably caught 30, 35 walleyes, all pitching shorelines. You know, our fishing typically starts about mid-May, a couple weeks after the spawn. A lot of pitching shorelines. End of May, we'll start getting a little bit of a bobber bite going up in a tree, but our shoreline fishing is still going good. Mid-June, we'll do an edge of a weed line bite, switching out into lake humps. We'll fish a lot of structure that comes up out of deep water up to 8 to 10 foot. A lot of times we'll just anchor up, throw out some slip bobbers, vertical jig over the side with leeches. You just have a heyday. Then once we start getting in July, we still have that good bobber bite going. We can start pulling some spinners along some road beds, trolling some road beds. So any way that you like to fish, we can do it here on Devil's Lake, and you can have results like this.